So I was thinking about taking a new approach to perhaps a certain segment of videos where I just kind of like read some of these Wikileaks documents to break it down, take one at a time. That sounds painful, doesn't it? It does sound painful, but the thing is, when we do not stop and break things down, everything just becomes one big blob. And when everything is just one big blob, it's just seemingly too much to just chip away at. And moreover, the individual people who really need to be being held accountable just slip away. There are so many names that need to be thrown out there. Yes, Wasserman is going to seemingly now be the scapegoat, per se, for many of them. It's interesting how Clinton just came up and took up for her after she so rightfully was ousted out of the DNC when it was shown her collusion of undermining Mr. Sanders. Could you imagine if he would have been president? Such a weak man. Such a very weak man. He was bought off. If he wasn't in on that to begin with, and I don't think he was. I don't. It wasn't too hard to buy him off, was it? Nope, it wasn't. Not at all. What did they have on him? I don't know. That wasn't really my focus of this this video, though. What I wanted to show is, as we have all of these buffoons running around perpetrating this mystery crime of collusion with Trump and Russia and just anything to impeach Trump, the facts are we have an entire library inside Wikileaks of facts. Facts which clearly incriminate specific people for doing specific crimes like collusion. For one example, and I'll go ahead and post the link in the description box, and we're only going to focus on one of these emails because, quite frankly, that's enough to focus on. Dated Sunday, August the 9th, 2015. This is from Heather Samuelson, a name that is lost amongst the key ones that are being thrown out there. This was to Nick Merrill, Philippe Reinesmailto, John Podesta, Cheryl Mills, Brian Fallon, Christina Reynolds, Dan Sherwin, Jennifer Palmieri, Katherine Turner, DKendall, Huma Abedinmailto, Jake Sullivan. Yeah, those names, a few of those names are repetitive names throughout the corruption. Why these people are not being questioned, maybe they are. Why aren't they? Why is there no media coverage? Like, Jake Sullivan's name should be just everywhere in the media. Should be on like CBS every night. Jennifer Palmieri, same thing. Definitely Cheryl Mills, and absolutely Podesta. The funny thing is, no, Podesta has a platform now, and his new boss is Mr. Bezos. It is it is mind-boggling how somebody with such a corrupt past could get a job promotion, seemingly, and probably a nice big raise, and be working for Mr. Bezos. That says a lot. I shop from Amazon, and then I hate myself for it, you know. Okay, I'm not going to go off on a tangent there. So let's see what this Wikileaks email has to say. And this is all around figuring out how to handle this pesky email situation. You want to talk about collusion? You want to talk about an investigation meeting? You want to talk about, well, in some ways, I guess there was an investigation, quite a long one. There was, I guess, in some ways, there was an outcome. Mr. Comey said it quite nicely for, 12, 13 minutes of all the things that Hillary Clinton did wrong. Funny, he didn't mention any of these other names. Okay, so, and then concluded after, giving his testimony on everything that she did wrong by the complete opposite of what the outcome would be unless you lived in a Dr. Seuss opposite day world. And that was no reasonable prosecutor. What prosecutor? We all kind of flipped out. Anybody who had a heartbeat at that moment flipped out. Like there's this thing called transit ischemic attack. Your mind takes like a little mental stroke. I think anybody that had not been zombified probably had a TIA at that time. I think I did. Yeah. And then everybody, I don't know what everybody else does, but I sit around and I'm like I'm waiting. Okay, so somebody who is important, somebody who has power, importance, a law degree, something is going to just jump on this, and that surely won't fly, will it? No. But it did. I mean, it actually did fly for quite some time, and it's only now that, a grip is kind of being put on that, like, okay, that is just not the way the world works. But when we have all this other confusion with people trying to jump on this bandwagon to just hate the orange Hitler, Cheeto Puff Man, I mean, it is so insane that I don't understand how people can even fathom wanting and calling for an impeachment of a president who has done nothing to warrant an impeachment. I mean, and that's another topic there. We're going to do investigation. No, I definitely do think that Mr. Trump and everyone else, all these individual names I just read off, needs to be held accountable. We are the bosses, We lose sight of that. We the people, we are the boss. We hire them. That's the way it technically is. Technically, we are the bosses of them. So, Heather Samuelson writes, for the website Q&A, what about adding this? Have Clinton's State Department aides also been asked to provide the department and Congress with emails from their personal accounts? Now, you have to remember, these people come at it like they're really not on her side when they are. It is one of the best techniques used in opposition. It's, controlled opposition is what it's called. So, here we go. We understand, and then they give the answer. This is how it goes throughout the WikiLeaks. It's fascinating. You have these wonderful stories, glorious stories that are printed up in mainstream media publications, and they were all basically authorized by the DNC, and Mr. Podesta, and Mills. Cheryl Mills should probably ran, Answer. We understand that members of our State Department staff were recently asked to assist the department in its record keeping by providing any work-related emails that they may have on personal accounts. They have received requests from Representative Gowdy as well. I have a lot of respect for Gowdy, I do. He's definitely works hard, brilliant guy. I have no resolve as to why, out of all that hard work, effort, and productivity, nothing has come out. And when I say nothing has come out, I mean nobody's held accountable. And for people just to say I'm accountable, I take full responsibility, but nothing happens, is so laughable. Again, it's lunacy. And then you have so many ass kissers in here. So this part she writes in her, Clinton is proud of all the dedicated public servants that were part of her team, and pleased that her aides have committed, as she has, to being as helpful as possible to both department and congressional requests. Anybody want to tell Gowdy that? Clinton's proud of how she's been so helpful. So, Nick Merrill, another name to look into, CC's all those same people, Podesta Mills, Huma, and a lot of them with the @thehillaryclinton.com email, Palmieri, all of them. Here it is. We'd have answer for websites, frequently asked questions. That's a little more dry and to the point, which Heather and I can formulate. You see, so there's not really the truth. There is just basically what answers can be reasonably formulated. Okay, he says, but here is what PIR came up with this past week. This is the collusion right here. You see, this, everybody, is the collusion. Generally, honesty works this way. You have a question concerning something I did. You ask me the question, I give you an answer. It is either true or it's not true, but I give that answer to you. This you have a huge entourage of people fixing answers to answer questions that clearly there are answers to, but nobody's about to give the right one. No, they have to formulate their answers. And what the PIR came up with at that point was this, quote, well, you all know I've seen this before and know that fair or not, it comes with the terrain. I am so proud, though, of what was accomplished while I had the honor of representing the United States to the world as America's Secretary of State. This is scripted. All these things that Hillary Clinton spoke was scripted, with people telling her how to speak. I mean, there's tons and tons of emails that you go through there that people were telling her basically how to talk on the phone with other foreign leaders. This was somebody that was going to be instated as the President of the United States. Laughably now, there's some sort of, it has to be a joke. Every day I wake up and I hear this shit, I have to think, is it April Fool's? Is it April 1st again today? When you have people talking about 2020, Hillary Clinton, seriously? When you have groups of people colluding together to tell her how she's going to have to answer these questions, not give the answer. No, don't answer honestly, because honest answers are not going to make you president, because you did everything wrong. It continues on, and I am so proud of all the dedicated public servants who were part of that work, including the team that came in with me and left with me. I was proud of them then, and I'm proud of them now. You ever wonder why Hillary always sounded so fucking artificial? Could it be because everything that she had said was written to her as a script that was supposed to be sentimental coming from her? Again, this is a quote I'm reading of what this other team came up with for her to say. Okay, so this is all a quote what she's supposed to be saying. They worked tirelessly, gave everything of themselves in support of our country's goals. We are all accountable to the American people for our work, but they simply don't deserve to be attacked this way. And that's interesting how they spin that. Like they're being attacked. Like, you vicious people who want the truth, you're attacking these other innocent people who don't want to give it to you. Despite that, though, they have committed, as I have, to being as helpful as possible to those asking the questions. And if those people are truly open to listening to their answers and accepting the facts, they will see that we should all be proud of them. I wonder how much money these fucking people made. Seriously. Like, how much money was Nick Merrill making? A year, or a month, whatever. Like, what did this yield him? To go back and forth to basically tell one person what another group of people came up with for someone to eventually deliver to Hillary Clinton herself, to memorize and spit out to the American people. Was it that difficult? Really? Again, maybe I should paste the term collusion and the definition of collusion, up here in this little video too, so we can see it in progress. So one of the people that were CC'd, Philippe Reinesmailto writes back, I had drafted something last week that I want, he says want, but it probably should be won't, that I won't pretend was objective, but I think works for her and those, quote, staff refers to. Just chip it in. Philippe. From John Podesta, who answers back on August the 9th. A Sunday. Hard-working man. 1:46 p.m. Sunday afternoon, August 9th. It was probably a nice warm summer day, wasn't it, Mr. Podesta? What were you doing that day? Going for a dip in the pool with whose kids? Sends this out to Cheryl Mills. And he CC's on there Nick Merrill, Brian Fallon, Philippe, Heather Samuelson, Christina Reynolds, Dan Sherwin, Jennifer Palmieri, Katherine Turner, DKendall, and Huma Abedinmailto. Wonder how Huma and John Podesta got along. They were just like probably incestuous kind of relatives or something like this. I don't know. Podesta says, this is a campaign doc, so if it's useful to do, I think we can use it. Quote, it's our understanding that ... end quote formulation. I'm telling you guys, terminology is a science to the people that know how to manipulate terminology. Every single word is used and studied and placed strategically, even if it sounds like it wasn't that way, to be meant that way. And I'm sure Trump does this too. And, maybe if he doesn't, that's why he sounds so much more odd than all these others in the past, because it's been a well-oiled machine that's been running the United States of America, made up of many, many different departments to spit out of the mouth from the cake topper whatever it is that they decide is appropriate. So Cheryl Mills, CDM, she would usually bring more sound reason to the table. Really, truly, she did. I really think she would have probably had a more decent chance of running for office. How can she answer for staff, she writes. Huma Abedin chimes in on August 9th, 1:37 p.m. Obviously, before John Podesta does. This doesn't have the Q question and A about what her staff is doing related to requests for emails. She was asked last week and wasn't prepared with an answer. Should we just add this long list of Q and A so at least it's out there and maybe she won't have to do it verbally again? How can we help her? Collusion. How can we help her side skirt these questions? Then you have Heather Samuelson going back through. I'm going to post a link so you can go through and read this yourself. But then we have Heather Samuelson going back through, writing something else in regards to it. And Mr. Davidkendall, you can almost see who has more authority during these times of email exchanges. Just by reading them, you don't even have to know their positions, you can see. But this guy comes up here and all of these names that are involved, all clearly conspiring to lie. He says, DKendall kind of started this off, actually backtracked. He's the one that started this off. August 8th, on Saturday, the day before. We're working around the clock, these guys. 2 things he says. As to the server turnover, I think we decided to say something like, quote, the server that was used during her tenure as Secretary of State, end quote. Number 2, I would prefer not to use the, quote, March 18th, 2009 date, because we know there were other emails using the herclintonemail.com address prior to that date. Could we make this more vague, like, quote, early in her term as SOS, end quote? That would be Secretary of State. Or would this change provide a, quote, gotcha target? If so, not worth it, since this is the date of the earliest email in the PST of her emails, as I understand it. Well, I think he understood that wrong, because I think there were others, many, many others. So all these people going back and forth about this, is that not a crime? Is that not a cover-up? Was this not a federal investigation? I know they weren't calling it an investigation. I know that she wanted to call it an inquiry. But all these people that are in here, why aren't they being called up for questioning on the conspiring right here as proof of their conspiring on how to address a treasonous behavior, federal offense? They just go on. And you have to understand, this is but one email chain of thousands. Thousands. It does seem overwhelming. It seems overwhelming to have to tackle something like Hillary Clinton, because there's just so much to go from. And someone would want to say, oh yeah, well, she's done more, atrocious things, and go ahead and rattle off a name of everybody that's gotten suicided with 2 shots to the back of the head. I get that, I do. And I guess what my position is that every single thing needs to be addressed, for as tedious and painful as that may be. I don't think there's enough lawyers in Washington to represent everybody that would need a lawyer. People might say that's just impractical, Anna. Nobody can go through and hold all these people accountable. Yeah, they can. Yeah, they can. It's called the law. And if you or me or any one of us peasants had participated in anything like that, we would have to be held accountable. And that accountability would go far beyond just saying, I take full responsibility. Because when you say you take full responsibility, nothing changes, and you just go about and you think you're going to be the President of the United States over and over again. Clearly, there's no repercussions. And when there's no repercussions, you just continue doing the same criminal activity. What is the incentive to stop? There isn't any incentive to stop. So I'm going to go ahead and post the link to this particular Wikileaks so you can look through it, and I encourage everybody to go ahead and go through. I know some people think that Wikileaks is just something to have us spin our wheels and to distract us, and I'm not saying that it isn't distracting, but if out of that distraction something can be birthed from within people who are just a zombie and dead, to say, wake up, look what's going on, this isn't right, this is all backwards, then it's worth it. Sometimes people have to be jolted. Doesn't even mean they have to understand all of it. It just takes a little bit of light to wake some people up, and can drop a boulder on other people. It won't matter. So anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. And yeah, if you've stayed through listening to the entire video, then you have so much patience and endurance. You let me know what you think about the long, detailed videos on fine details. Okay, have a great weekend.